The sea is endless. Its voice lingers in the wind. Every wave carries a memory. Some speak of storms and shadows. Others whisper of treasures unseen. But one legend flows deeper than all. It is the crown of Poseidon, not forged of gold or stone. It is born of the ocean's breath, a wreath of foam and starlight. It rests where no light dares to fall, in the abyss, eternal and unbroken. Sailors dream of it in silence. Poets shape verses around its glow, but none have held it in their hands. For it is not meant to be taken. It is meant to be understood. Tonight, we follow that story. A journey into tides, uncharted, through mists, songs, and silent depths. Not to conquer, not to rule, but to listen and to remember. The sea keeps her secrets well, yet sometimes she shares a glimpse. If you lean close, you may hear it. The ocean breathes, the abyss calls, and the crown awaits. The sea holds whispers older than time. Legends drift with the tide, carried on voices long forgotten. Among them is the tale of a crown, not a crown of kings nor emperors, but a crown born from the abyss itself. They say Poseidon shaped it when the world was young, not with hammer nor with flame, but with waves, silence, and eternal breath. It is woven of starlight reflected in water. It glows in foam, it hides in darkness. It is not meant for power. It is meant for balance. The sailors who speak of it grow quiet. Their eyes turn to the horizon when the name is spoken. They know the sea keeps secrets best. And this crown is the deepest secret of all. It is said the crown sleeps where no sun shines, where light surrenders and shadows bloom. At the edge of mortal courage, it waits. Not for those who seek to rule, but for those who dare to listen. Every tale begins with a whisper, a story heard by one dreamer. And this is where our voyage begins. A wanderer once stood at the docks, salt in the air, maps in hand. He heard the murmur of fishermen. They spoke of storms that moved without wind. They spoke of silence that lasted for days. And always, of a light deep below. He felt the call rise within him. Not greed, not hunger for glory, only a longing to understand. The ocean had always spoken to him, in the crash of waves and the gulls above. But now the voice was different. It was older, deeper, almost human. The crown called him through silence. He dreamed of it in restless nights. Foam crowned his vision in sleep. Stars sank beneath the water in his mind. Every morning, the pull grew stronger. He walked among sailors and scribes. He searched through songs and scrolls. Every word pointed to the abyss. Every clue led him farther from land. The whisper became a song. The song became a vow. The sea would not wait forever. One night, beneath a silver moon, he chose. He would follow the tide into the unknown. The harbor lights glowed behind him. The endless water stretched ahead. He was not alone in spirit, for the crown was watching, and the abyss was listening. The voyage had not yet begun, but the story was already alive. The sea itself was turning a page. A tale older than kingdoms would speak again. The wanderer breathed the salt air. The horizon trembled with mystery. And far beneath, the crown shimmered, waiting, silent, eternal. The harbor faded into memory. The sea stretched wide, endless, alive. The wanderer stood at the bow, silent. Salt mist brushed against his face. Each wave carried a pulse, a rhythm. It was as though the ocean breathed. He closed his eyes to listen closer. The crown's whisper was faint but clear. It was not a call of command. It was an invitation, gentle, patient, as if the abyss waited kindly for him. He remembered the words of sailors. They spoke of chosen voyagers, never conquerors. Some heard the sea, others never did. Those who heard were said to be marked, marked not by scars, but by silence. He wondered if he was one of them. The ship creaked under his feet. The sails curved with the wind's song. Above, gulls cried and circled away. Ahead, the horizon burned gold at dawn. The voyage had only just begun. Yet already he felt part of something vast. He carried no crown on his head, but the sea placed weight upon his heart, not heavy, but profound. The crew watched him from a distance. They felt his quiet, his listening. They spoke little, respecting his silence, for they too sensed the journey was unusual. Days passed in gentle rhythm. Waves rolled, stars wheeled overhead. The ocean revealed moods like shifting faces. Some mornings calm, soft, almost tender. Other nights restless, as though remembering storms. But always the crown whispered faintly. The wanderer studied the waters carefully. He traced patterns in currents and foam. He heard songs in winds at dusk. He felt as though being guided, not by map, not by compass, but by the sea's hidden hand. The crew trusted him without question. Perhaps they too heard the faint song. Perhaps they too felt chosen. One night he stood at the deck. The stars lay bright like scattered pearls. The moon washed silver across the waves. The sea was quiet, almost listening. And in that stillness, he spoke aloud. "Why me?" he asked the horizon. The ocean answered with silence. Yet the silence was full of meaning. It was not emptiness, but presence. A promise woven into the night air. He felt no fear, only wonder. Perhaps the crown did not choose rulers. Perhaps it chose witnesses. Those willing to see, to hear. Those ready to honor the deep. From that moment, he understood. This was not his quest alone. It was the sea's story told through him. He was the vessel, not the master. The chosen voyager was chosen to listen. He placed his hand upon the rail. The wood was warm from the day's sun. Beneath it, the ocean moved, endless. He whispered, "I will follow." And the sea answered in waves, soft, eternal, guiding. The horizon shimmered like a veil. Behind it, secrets waited to unfold. The crown was closer now, not in miles, but in spirit. The wanderer knew the truth. He had been chosen not to find it, but to remember it for the world. The voyage pressed onward. The ship carried more than men and wood. It carried a story reborn. The sea wrote it in foam and tide. The chosen voyager read it with his heart. And far below, the abyss listened, silent, patient, eternal. The port was alive with color and sound. Sails flapped like banners against the sky. Merchants shouted, their voices weaving together. The air smelled of salt, spice, and smoke. Every corner of the harbor told a story. Fishermen hauled nets glistening with silver scales. Children ran along the docks chasing gulls. Sailors sang songs half lost to memory. The wanderer walked among them quietly. His eyes searched for more than trade. He sought fragments of a greater truth. Every tavern carried whispers of the sea. Every mapmaker drew lines that bent strangely. Every sailor spoke of horizons that vanished. He listened with patience, never interrupting. Some laughed when he asked of the abyss. Others crossed themselves and turned away. But a few leaned close and whispered. They spoke of fogs that never lifted, of islands that moved like drifting dreams, of a crown seen only in sleep. Each word was like a piece of glass, fragments of a mirror lost to time. The wanderer gathered them carefully in silence. A puzzle of the sea was forming. In the market, an old woman called him. Her stall was filled with shells and pearls. She pressed a cracked conch into his hand. "Listen," she said, her eyes clouded. He raised the shell to his ear. Inside, the ocean roared like thunder. But beneath the roar was a murmur, a voice low and steady, almost human. He felt a chill despite the sun. The woman nodded, as if she knew. "You are not the first to hear it." Her words lingered long after he left. At night, the tavern swelled with song. Sailors drank and told their legends loudly. But in corners, softer stories were shared. A man with scars spoke of lost ships. He claimed they vanished in still waters. Another swore he saw light beneath waves. Not lanterns, not stars, but something alive. The wanderer listened, his heart steady. Every voice carried the same echo. The crown was real, and it waited. He returned to the docks before dawn. The harbor was quieter in the mist. Ships groaned as they rocked at anchor. He walked the planks slowly, breathing deep. The scent of the sea was sharp. The call of gulls pierced the silence. In that stillness, he felt certain. The crown was not myth or madness. It was a story the sea kept hidden, a truth that only few could follow. He closed his eyes and touched the water. Cold waves lapped gently at his hand. The ocean seemed to hum with promise, whispered, "Guide me." The tide pulled stronger against the shore. The ropes of ships strained and creaked. It was as if the harbor itself listened. He knew then he was ready. The fragments of rumor had become a map, not of coastlines or measured miles, but of voices, memories, and silence. The path was drawn in whispers, and he was the one meant to walk it. The port faded behind him in thought, but it lived within him as a beginning. Every face, every word, every song remained. They were part of the journey now. The sea had chosen its herald. The wanderer would carry the voices forward, and the abyss would wait with patience. Silent, endless, eternal. The sea opened wide before the voyager. Waves lifted the ship like a cradle of wood. The wind filled the sails with steady breath. It was as if the ocean itself guided them. Every ripple seemed to speak in rhythm. Every gust of wind carried hidden words. The voyager stood at the helm, listening. The horizon shimmered, painted with pale gold. Birds flew above, then vanished into distance. He felt the call stronger than before. The sea was no longer only water. It was a companion, ancient and aware. He whispered, "I will follow where you lead." The tide answered with a sudden swell. The ship groaned but pressed onward. The crew exchanged glances, uneasy but loyal. They trusted him, though they did not know why. Some thought him touched by gods. Others thought him cursed by fate. But all felt the ocean's strange rhythm. The voyager knew this was the path, not chosen by maps, but chosen by tides. The waves rolled like voices in chorus. They rose, fell, then quieted again. At night, the sky unfolded with stars. Constellations shone like watchful guardians. He traced their shapes with his eyes. Each star seemed tied to the ocean's song. The ships sailed as if guided by light. He wondered if Poseidon watched from afar. The crown shimmered in his dreams again, a wreath of foam, glowing, eternal. It hovered just beyond his reach. He woke with salt on his lips. The sea sang louder each dawn, not in words, but in harmony. It was not command, but companionship, a reminder that he was not alone. The crew too felt its presence. They worked with unusual calm and rhythm. They began to sing as they labored. Old songs, long forgotten, returned to them. The sea seemed to join in chorus. Its waves clapped against the ship like drums. The voyager closed his eyes and listened. The melody rose, filled with mystery. It was the call of the tides. He realized the ocean did not test him. It welcomed him deeper into its heart. Each mile carried him closer to truth. Each breath carried the sea's eternal rhythm. The days melted into nights seamlessly. Time no longer followed the sun. It followed the sea's unseen clock. One dawn, the water turned still. The sails hung heavy, breathless. The crew grew silent, waiting. The Voyager stepped forward, eyes fixed ahead. The horizon wavered like glass. The sea's whisper filled the air again. He felt it not in his ears, but in his chest, deep and steady. It told him he was on the right course. The tides bent toward his journey. No storm, no wind, only certainty. The ship drifted yet moved with purpose. The Voyager smiled faintly, heart steady. The call of the tides was clear, not a warning, but a blessing. The ocean had chosen him as listener. The abyss waited, timeless and patient. But for now, the sea carried him. Gentle, endless, eternal. The sea shifted as dawn broke soft and pale. The horizon blurred, wrapped in drifting silver mist. The crew hushed, uneasy with the sight. The Voyager felt the air grow heavy. The sails sagged, caught in listless breath. The ship slowed, as though entering a dream. Mist curled across the deck like fingers. It swallowed rope, wood, and human voices. The world beyond vanished in pale silence. No gulls cried, no waves slapped the hull. Only the heartbeat of water beneath remained. The Voyager knew this was the first trial. The Mist Isles, spoken of in whispers. Not truly islands, but illusions of the deep. Sailors claimed to hear voices here. Others said compasses spun without reason. Some vanished, never to return again. The crew clutched charms and whispered prayers. The Voyager stood tall, steady in the fog. He listened with more than ears. The ocean hummed, quiet but insistent. Its rhythm cut through the veil of mist. He closed his eyes and let it guide him. Step by step, he felt the ship align, not with stars or compass, but with something older, truer. The mist thickened, heavy as stone. Shapes flickered at the edge of sight. An island, a tower, a figure in white. But as soon as one blinked, it dissolved. Illusions rose and vanished like smoke. The crew grew restless, fear in their eyes. Some muttered of curses and wandering spirits. But the Voyager calmed them with a word. "Do not look with your eyes," he said. "Listen to the sea beneath your feet." The men grew still, uncertain but trusting. They felt the deck pulse with hidden rhythm. The ocean was speaking, low and steady. It told them the path lay forward, not left toward shadows, not right toward light. Straight ahead, through silence itself. The Voyager raised his hand to the helm. He steered not with fear, but with faith. The mist shifted as though alive. It swirled, opening narrow corridors of sight. For moments, glimpses of sky appeared above, then vanished, swallowed again by gray. But each gap aligned with their course. Each breath of clarity confirmed the way. The crew began to hum, low and slow. Their voices matched the sea's rhythm. The fog wavered at the sound. It did not vanish, but it softened. The ship pressed on through endless white. Time seemed to lose its meaning. Was it hours, or days, or years? No one could tell, nor did they ask. Only the Voyager's calm remained unchanged. At last, the mist began to thin. It curled like smoke drawn from flame. Shapes of open water glimmered ahead. The crew exhaled with relief and awe. They had crossed what few had dared. The Mist Isles had tested their hearts. Not with storms, not with monsters, but with patience, trust, and silence. The Voyager stood at the bow once more. The last threads of fog slid away. The sea shone open, blue and vast. Behind them, the veil closed once again, silent, eternal, keeping its secrets. The Voyager knew the trial was past, and the ocean had accepted their faith. The abyss waited farther still, patient. But the path was now clear. crown had whispered its approval. The voyage pressed on, steady and true, carried by the breath of the sea. Gentle, endless, eternal. The sea calmed after the mist had passed. Its surface gleamed like polished glass in sunlight. The crew worked quietly, voices hushed with awe. They had faced illusions and found their way. Now the ocean gave them peace in return. The voyagers stood at the bow, listening. The rhythm of waves had shifted again. It was slower, deeper, carrying hidden weight. The air grew warmer, touched with strange scents. Salt mingled with sweetness, like unseen blossoms. The crew looked around, puzzled and cautious. No land was near, yet the air was full. Whispers rose, soft as threads of silk. They drifted across the deck, hard to catch. Some heard laughter, others heard their names. One sailor froze, staring into empty space. He swore he saw a child smiling. Another dropped his rope, trembling in fear. He claimed his mother's voice had called him. The voyager walked among them, calm and steady. He reminded them that the sea remembers. It holds voices, faces, and echoes of time. What they heard were not spirits to fear. They were fragments of memory, carried by tides. The crew listened, still uneasy but trusting him. The voices rose again, clearer this time. They wove together into songs without words. The melody circled the ship like a tide. It was beautiful, haunting, impossible to ignore. The voyager closed his eyes to listen. He felt the sound move through his chest. It was not meant to lure or trap. It was meant to guide, like starlight. He leaned over the railing, staring deep. Beneath the surface, shadows moved with grace. Not sharks, not whales, not fish at all. Shapes shimmered with light as they swam. Long hair floated like seaweed in currents. Eyes glowed faint as moons underwater. The crew gasped, pointing in wonder and fear. "Merfolk," whispered one with shaking voice. "Spirits of the sea," said another. The voyager nodded slowly, not in denial. They were guardians, older than mortal stories, beings who lived between wave and abyss. The merfolk circled the ship without sound. They moved in patterns, flowing like a dance. It was no attack, but a ritual. The voyager raised his hand in respect. He bowed his head as if greeting kin. The crew followed, uncertain but obedient. The sea grew still, as though listening. Then one figure rose above the water. A woman's shape, with eyes of silver. Her hair streamed like rivers of moonlight. She did not speak with words or voice, but her gaze carried meaning, clear and deep. The voyager felt it in his heart. "You are seen," her silence seemed to say. "You are marked by the sea's memory." He bowed again, whispering only, "I follow." The mermaid sank without a ripple. The others followed, vanishing like mist. Only silence remained, heavy and holy. The crew exhaled, unsure of what passed. The voyager stood taller, eyes shining calm. The ocean had tested them with illusions. Now it had blessed them with recognition. The voices faded, leaving stillness behind. But the air was no longer heavy. It was light, filled with unseen promise. The ship glided forward with new grace. The men worked with quiet reverence. They knew the sea watched them now. The voyager looked ahead at the horizon. The abyss lay beyond, silent and vast. But tonight, the stars burned brighter above. The sea had given its sign of trust, and the voyage pressed on, steady as breath, carried by song, silence, and memory. Gentle, endless, eternal. The sea grew darker as the days passed. The sunlight no longer reached with ease. The water deepened in color, vast and endless. The crew sensed they were leaving the known. Maps no longer marked these waters with certainty. Only blank spaces and whispered warnings remained. The voyager welcomed the silence of the deep. He knew the abyss waited ahead, patient. At night, the stars seemed sharper, brighter. They burned above like watchful guardians of fate. The sea mirrored their glow, calm but strange. Sometimes the stars reflected more than the sky. Shapes shimmered beneath, like stars beneath waves. The crew whispered of lanterns of the deep, lights that lured sailors into watery graves. But the voyager felt no fear at all. He felt those lights were not a warning. They were a greeting, soft and patient. The abyss did not hide from them. It called with silent brilliance below the waves. One evening, the water grew still as glass. The ship drifted without wind or current. The silence was immense, almost holy. The crew gathered, whispering with unease. The voyager stood tall, eyes fixed below. A glow rose from the ocean's heart. It spread like dawn beneath the surface. A great circle of light appeared below. It pulsed, steady like the beat of life. The men gasped, clutching the rails in awe. Some knelt, believing it a god's sign. Others trembled, fearing they were cursed. The voyager knew this was the second trial, the circle of stillness, sung in old tales. It was said to show a sailor's truth. The sea did not test with storms this time. It tested with reflection, silence, and light. This time, voyager gazed deep into the glow. He saw not monsters, nor shadows of death. He saw his own face in the water, not as it was, but as it could be. Younger, filled with wonder and doubt. Older, weary yet unbroken. 1,000 versions of himself stared back. The crew saw their own reflections too. Each man froze, caught in visions of self. One wept, seeing his family waiting. Another turned pale, haunted by past mistakes. The circle did not show lies or dreams. It showed truth, naked and unyielding. The voyager breathed slowly, steady and calm. He whispered, "I see, and I accept." The light pulsed brighter, as if in reply. The water rippled, but the vision did not break. Each sailor had to face his reflection. Some turned away, unable to endure it. Others held fast, whispering words of courage. The sea asked for no perfection, only honesty, only the courage to see. Hours passed, though time felt meaningless. The glow began to dim at last. The water stilled, and silence returned. The circle dissolved into darkness once more. The crew staggered back, changed but alive. Some looked older, others lighter in spirit. The voyager bowed his head in reverence. The sea had tested them again, quietly. Not through storms or illusions, but truth. They had seen themselves in the abyss, and they had not been broken by it. The ship drifted forward once more. Wind filled the sails with sudden breath. The sea carried them onward into night. The stars blazed above with brighter fire. The crew sang softly, voices low and steady. Their song was not of fear, but faith. The voyager smiled, heart calm and certain. The abyss lay closer than ever before. The crown shimmered in his dreams again. It waited, eternal beyond trials and silence, and the voyage pressed on, unbroken, gentle, endless, eternal. The nights grew longer as the voyage pressed on. The horizon faded into endless gray-blue silence. The crew moved with quiet rhythm, steady and wary. They had faced the mist and the circle of light. Now the sea held its breath, waiting again. The voyager felt the change before it came. The air grew cooler, tinged with a sharp edge. The sails trembled though no wind had touched them. The water darkened, heavy with unseen weight. A distant hum rose from the deep below. It was not storm, not thunder, not wave. It was a song, vast and low. The crew froze, glancing to one another. They knew the tales of that sound. It was said to be the call below, a hymn that no man could resist forever. The voyager stood firm, steady at the bow. He whispered to himself, "We are not prey." The hum grew louder, weaving through the hull. The wood shivered as though alive with sound. The crew clutched their ears in fear. Some wept, others prayed into their hands. The voyager lifted his gaze to the horizon. There, shadows rose, tall and unbroken. Not waves, but columns of water ascending. Pillars of the sea, reaching toward the sky. They circled the ship in vast formation. The crew gasped, lost between terror and wonder. The song now came from the pillars themselves. The water vibrated, glowing faint with inner light. It was not a trap, but a message. The voyager knew this was the third trial, the hymn of the deep, sung without words. He listened, steady, as the crew shook. The song carried neither threat nor comfort. It was a question, old as the abyss. Will you lose yourself, or will you remain? The voyager closed his eyes to answer. He let the song wash through his chest. He did not resist, nor did he yield. He listened as one listens to heartbeat. The pillars pulsed brighter at his silence. The crew tried to sing against the hymn. Their voices cracked, weak against the vast sound. But the voyager raised his hand for stillness. "Do not fight it," he said softly. "Let it move through you like tide." The men obeyed, trembling, uncertain but trusting. The hum grew so strong it shook the ship. The masts groaned, ropes strained against the pull. But then, slowly, the song shifted tone. From heavy, it turned lighter, gentler, soft. The water's glow changed from gray to silver. The pillars swayed like dancers in rhythm. The crew exhaled, their fear turning to awe. The hymn no longer hurt. It healed. It filled their lungs with breath, their hearts with calm. The voyager opened his eyes and smiled. He whispered, "We remain, and we follow." The pillars rippled, then dissolved into sea. The hum faded into silence once again. The ship rocked gently in its wake. The crew stood stunned, faces pale but shining. They had endured the song of the abyss, not by fighting, but by surrendering to truth. The voyager bowed his head in reverence. The ocean had asked, and they had answered. The trial was past, the path still open. Night fell, scattering stars across endless dark. The sea mirrored them, still and eternal. The men sang quietly, their voices sure. Not songs of fear, but hymns of faith. The voyager dreamed again of the crown. It gleamed brighter than ever, close at hand. It whispered of depths yet to come. And the voyage pressed onward, unbroken. Gentle, endless, eternal. The dawn came pale, drifting soft over the horizon. The ship sailed calm waters, yet silence held weight. The crew stirred with unease, whispering of omens. Each man carried the echo of the hymn within. It lingered like breath after deep prayer. The voyager stood tall at the bow, listening still. He felt the crown calling, closer with each wave. Its presence grew heavier, like a star unseen. The sea shimmered strangely, as though alive beneath. Colors danced where sunlight touched the swells. Greens, blues, even silver flashed in motion. The voyager narrowed his eyes to the depths. Shapes moved, vast and unmeasured below. Not shadows of fish, not whales, but greater. The crew murmured, fear rising like tide. "What dwells beneath?" One sailor whispered hoarsely. "Not monster," the voyager replied with calm. "Guardians, perhaps, or keepers of the path." As if summoned, the water shifted again. A great spiral formed upon the surface. Not a storm, but a living whirlpool. Its center glowed with faint golden light. The men clutched ropes, hearts racing fast. The ship leaned toward the pull of current, but no chaos. Only rhythm guided it. The Voyager raised his hand for stillness. "This is the fourth trial," he declared low. "The spiral of memory, where truth is tested." The whirlpool widened, glowing brighter in depths. Each wave shimmered with scenes of the past. The crew gasped, seeing their own lives reflected. A child's face, a mother's embrace, a lost home. Tears welled in hardened eyes of sailors. One man cried out, reaching toward vision, but the Voyager stopped him with calm voice. "Do not grasp, for the water gives only sight." He himself saw memories rise and swirl. The temple where he once prayed in youth, the call of the sea that claimed his life, the endless search for meaning across vast waves. The crown's image appeared within the spiral, its glow pure, yet heavy with burden. The voice of the abyss spoke in silence. "Do you seek power, or do you seek truth?" The Voyager closed his eyes, steady in thought. The crew trembled, lost in visions of longing. Some reached again, desperate to touch past. But the whirlpool pulsed harder, rejecting desire. The ship shuddered, wood groaning in protest. The Voyager raised his voice above the roar. "Release what is gone. Hold only what remains." His words spread calm through fearful hearts. Hands loosened, eyes turned from shimmering visions. The spiral slowed, its golden core shining bright. The crown appeared again, nearer than before. But it did not promise wealth or power. It carried the weight of choice, eternal. The whirlpool faded, waters calming once more. The ship floated free, rocking in silence. The men wept, yet their tears cleansed souls. The Voyager bowed, whispering to the abyss, "We carry memory, but we are not bound." The ocean answered with calm, steady waves. The fourth trial was passed, the path still clear. Stars lingered pale in fading daylight sky. The crew sang softly, voices rich with release, not hymns of sorrow, but songs of freedom. The Voyager gazed ahead, eyes bright with fire. The crown's call was stronger than ever now. It waited, hidden in depths yet untold. But the sea had taught him patience eternal. Every trial carried meaning, every test a gift. The voyage pressed forward, heart bound to destiny. Toward the abyss, toward the eternal crown. The sea stretched vast, endless and still. The ship glided slow, guided by unseen hands. The crew whispered, voices hushed by reverence. They had passed the spiral, freed of memory. But the weight of destiny pressed ever closer. The Voyager felt it, heavy in his chest. The crown called, pulsing with quiet rhythm. Its song echoed deeper than the ocean's floor. The men looked to their captain for strength. He gave only calm eyes and steady voice. Ahead, the horizon shimmered with strange light. Not dawn nor dusk, but a glow eternal. It pulsed like a beacon beneath the waves. The Voyager knew another trial lay near. A soft wind rose, stirring the stillness. The sails filled with gentle, guiding breath. The sea brightened, revealing a path of silver. It stretched like a ribbon across the water. The men gasped, awed by the shimmering road. "Follow," the Voyager spoke, calm and certain. The ship obeyed, gliding along the silver way. Each wave shone like polished glass beneath. The air shimmered, carrying faint voices around. Not the hymn, not memory, but whispers. They were soft, almost like lullabies. The crew leaned close, ears straining to listen. But the Voyager warned, "Do not heed them. They are voices of longing, not truth." Still, some wept, for they heard loved ones. One man swore he heard his child call. Another gasped at his mother's gentle prayer. The voices sweetened, urging them to leap. "Come to us. The sea will hold you. The silver path grew brighter, yet fragile. Each voice pressed harder, filling minds with ache. The ship swayed as men staggered close. The voyager stepped forward, voice strong. These are illusions born of desire. The abyss asks if you can resist. His words struck deep, though some faltered still. The silver path shook, light dimming fast. The voyager closed his eyes, heart steady. He whispered into the air, "We remain whole." Then he began to sing, low and clear, not a hymn of sorrow, but of truth. The crew stilled, listening to his voice. His song wove against the whispering illusions. It rang strong, a thread of unbroken will. The sea shimmered, the voices shrank away. The path steadied, glowing brighter once more. The crew, hearts lifted, joined their captain's song. Their voices rose, weaving harmony into night. Together they sang, louder than the abyss. The silver ribbon stretched farther, guiding them on. The whispering fell to silence, swallowed by song. The men wept, but now with joy. They had resisted the sweetest temptation. The abyss had tested their longing and faith. The ship glided forth, steady as starlight. The glow ahead grew stronger, pulling near. The voyager bowed his head in thanks. "Truth holds us," he whispered to the sea. The fifth trial was past. The path remained. The night spread wide, jeweled with countless stars. The crew sang still, softer now, in peace. No illusions lingered, only their true voices. The voyager smiled, his heart both heavy and light. The crown shone closer, its song unbroken. It waited in depths, ancient and eternal. The voyage pressed onward, guided by faith. Ever forward, into the abyss, toward the crown and destiny untold. The sea lay vast and endless, quiet as breath. The ship drifted steady, guided by unseen tide. The crew stood silent, hearts heavy with awe. They had endured trials few men dared imagine. Now the horizon burned with silver fire. From the deep, a glow rose unbroken. It pulsed with power older than the stars. The voyager stepped forward, eyes steady, soul still. He knew the crown lay beyond this veil. The ocean trembled, yet not with fury. It trembled with anticipation, waiting for choice. The waves parted, forming a path of light. The abyss below shone like living crystal. At its heart rested the eternal crown. It gleamed with calm, not conquest. Its glow carried weight, not desire. The crew gasped, some weeping in reverence. The voyager walked to the bow in silence. He closed his eyes, hearing its song. The crown whispered not of power, but burden. "Take me, and you bear the sea's eternity. Refuse, and I remain, awaiting another." The voyager bowed his head in thought. The trials echoed through him like waves. The mist, the hymn, the spiral, the whispers. Each test asked not for strength, but truth. The crown called again, gentle as tide. He turned to his men, faces worn. They looked at him with faith unbroken. He smiled softly, the sea in his eyes. Then he spoke, his voice calm and firm. "This crown is not treasure, nor throne. It is bond, eternal as the tide. I do not take it for myself. I take it for the sea, and for all." The crown flared bright, flooding sky and sea. The abyss roared, not in anger, but song. The waters rose, pillars of light encircling ship. The crew's shielded eyes, trembling in wonder. The voyager reached forward, hand steady. The crown lifted, weightless in silver glow. It rested upon his brow like water's touch. Cold, vast, endless, yet gentle as dawn. The ocean stilled, silence deep as prayer. Then a voice rose from every wave. "Keeper of the abyss, bearer of the crown. You are bound to sea, eternal guardian." The voyager bowed his head with reverence. The crown pulsed once, then dimmed to calm. The ship rocked gently, free of storm. The crew fell to knees, whispering thanks. They had seen the impossible become truth. The voyager turned, crown upon his brow. But his gaze was humble, not proud. He whispered, "The sea is not mine. I am hers, forevermore." The men stood, hearts steadied by his words. They knew the voyage had changed them all. The abyss had tested, and they endured. The crown was not conquest, but covenant. The night opened wide, stars blazing bright. The sea shimmered, calm and endless. The ship sailed on, no longer lost. The voyager stood watch, crowned yet free. Guardian of tide, keeper of truth eternal. The abyss whispered soft, no longer haunting. Its voice was steady, a song of peace. The voyage had ended, yet never ended. For the sea was eternal, and so was he. And so the tale drifts onward, forever told, of the crown, the abyss, and the voyager. Gentle, endless, eternal.